Hi everyone, it's Mark and welcome to September 1st, 2018, which in the United States is the weekend when we acknowledge Labor Day. With the beginning of September all over the world, many people, or at least in the Northern Hemisphere, many people recognize that this is when autumn is seriously beginning. This is the month when a lot of the trees turn and when we really see the beginning effects of the autumn coming on. And of course, then the autumn equinox happens around the 21st or 22nd. So there's a little history behind the designation uh, of the first weekend in September as Labor Day in the United States, and it's not particularly pleasant history. Labor Day is generally the May 1st, May Day, in most parts of the world. And the United States deliberately decided not to do that because May Day was associated with communism and Americans were phobic about communism. So instead, they decided to acknowledge their workers on a day that was far removed from May Day. And it turns out to be the first weekend of September, which is also kind of the unofficial end of summer. In many places, it's where the summer vacation season ends and people go back to work and schools are all open again and so forth. Of course, in my Atheopagan Wheel of the Year, I celebrate the beginning of autumn and the ending of summer at the cross-quarter holiday at the beginning of August. But in the mainstream culture, this is more where people recognize that autumn is arriving. So on this Labor Day, what I would like to do is to remind everyone that though the food and the gifts that come to us ultimately derive from the sacred earth and sun, they are gathered and they are shaped by many hands and delivered into our hands by those. We must acknowledge all of those workers, all of the labor that goes into what we receive in the way of food and consumer goods and materials and all of those things. We must honor them and acknowledge them as well as our sacred sources, the earth and the sun. And particularly, one way that we can honor them is by working to ensure that they are well compensated and treated fairly and not oppressed. If the circumstances of their living are oppressive and impoverished, we must do what we can to remedy this. Unfortunately, some of our greatest pleasures are associated with oppression, like chocolate and coffee, for example. And we can do something about that. We can choose to boycott companies like Nestle, which source slavery-picked cacao. Nestle is now the same company with Starbucks, so we can avoid going to a Starbucks in order not to give them our business because they are aligned with slavery through the company of Nestle. We can choose fair trade coffee and sustainably harvested chocolate. It costs a little more, but it's a way of voting with our pocketbook that we believe in a world in which people are treated fairly and honorably and not oppressively. So let our pleasures not be at the expense of others' misery, and let us celebrate workers, all of them, for the labor they contribute to our societies. I am very grateful and always mindful of the many, many benefits and gifts that come to me, even as someone who is living quite frugally, simply by dint of the fact that I'm here in this modern society with this modern economy, giving me the opportunity to have incredible diversity of food, incredible opportunities for purchases of things if I want them. I'm not much of a consumer, but nonetheless, I have a car. The car was assembled by people. The materials to build it were mined by people. They were manufactured by people. And all of those people deserve respect and to be treated in a way that's honorable. I would also like to thank, before closing here today, my Patreon supporters for their generosity. You are really making a huge difference in my life at this time. As you know, I'm still looking for work, and I have been out of work since September of last year. And this is helping me to stay afloat. And I deeply, deeply appreciate each and every one of you for your Patreon contributions. There is a link on the blog if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter and pitch in $5-10 a month to help me keep doing what I'm doing here with Atheopaganism. You just go to the blog, and there is one of the pull down menus is patrons. Just go there and it'll show you how to get to the Patreon and make your pledge. So that's really all that I have to say on this Labor Day weekend. I just wanted to greet everyone and say a little bit about work and labor and how that fits into our Atheopagan thinking. And wish you all the very happiest of autumn and the season of drawing down. Blessings and love to everybody. Bye-bye.